Hey folks, we are back with Erika from the Cricket, covering all things in Manchester and Essex. Welcome back, Erika.
Hey guys. Corey, we missed you last week. It was just Heather and I. We had a great time.
Yeah, we covered so much without you interrupting.
Somehow it gets a little more serious when it's the two of
Oh,
us.
that's why we actually need Corey. That's
I
true.
like that. No, I really enjoyed our conversation last week. And this
All right.
week feels a lot lighter.
Yeah, well, let's get into that, Erika, because obviously what we saw and heard was how great the celebrations were for the 4th of July in Manchester and Essex. And now that we're in the heart of summer, there are a lot more people just out doing their regular summer activities and having fun again.
Yeah, no, it kind of feels good. We predicted this kind of exuberance of people wanting to be out and about, and it's happening. Manchester has a tradition of just really turning out for 4th of July. It's a big deal. We have everything from parachuters to big parade, etc. So that stuff wasn't happening, but the stuff that did happen, everyone really turned out. The red, white, and blue breakfast was back on, and it was also back on in a full way. You know, not sort of a smaller version of the red, white, and blue breakfast. So we have it's at Tux Point. It starts at 7:30 in the morning. The Manchester-Essex Rotary Club does it, and it's their big thing in the summertime. They have pony rides and face painting, and Bruce Tarr and Brad Hill come out and they cook all morning long. So they're part of the entertainment. We always get some great photos of them. Anyway, it all happened. The pony rides, the face painting, Brad I went, because if you remember, the weather was not optimal for the weekend. I went at 7:30 in the morning figuring if there's a window of time, I want to get some pictures of the event and sort of get what I can. And then that way I had in my insurance policy for the paper. I went, it was overrun with people at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And so I went back figuring I'd go back when it died down. They ran out of pancakes early because it was oversubscribed the entire time. But anyway, that's indicative of what's going on. And then everything else is just happening. Some really interesting stuff. We had, that book signing with Alice Gardner was really great, really well attended for the 4th of July book. We had a boat parade that went really well. Music at the park. So it's a lot of stuff. Essex was really quiet. And so now that's kind of going to start to, what I love about Essex is the Greenhead's Gone party. And I literally don't know if they're having it. And if they don't at the Shipbuilding Museum, I will personally be very, very disappointed. Who else has a celebration to celebrate the fact that the Greenheads are gone?
I know.
Can I go to that party with you, Erica? I have to tell a little digression here. I stopped to walk my dog in near the marshes over there yesterday. Oh my gosh, I have never been so attacked by bugs. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to go to that party.
They're particularly bad this year. And a feature that is great about the Greenheads Gone party, just aside from the vibe is casual fun and is focused on beer. That's a good time.
Right.
But the one thing that they have as a feature, which I love, and I hope they do it again, they had a big piñata last year that you could take a whack at of a big greenhead.
It's such a great party.
Can you just strangle it?
Yes.
Or do you have to hit it with something?
I would think fly swatter. You just need
Yeah,
water. I used one yesterday, I'll tell you. Oh,
Yeah. So anyway, so everything was back and it felt like the weekend really kicked off, a new feeling of summer, and it's definitely happening. So everything's on. Even the Golden Agers, how the Golden Agers have their summer Hummer that it's on. First time in, I think, nearly 2 years they've actually had an event together. That's a great feed. And I have to say, it's underwritten by the Sanford Fund. It's a free lobster feed with steak tips and anything you want at Tux Point. It couldn't be nicer. It's a fantastic event. This year with lobster rolls going for $37 a piece. Hello.
Mud bugs.
Hello.
wow.
So that's a good feed for free.
Yeah.
Like, not kidding. Sign up early, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
Something tells me everyone's going to go to that one.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So, Erika, there's this other cool feature that we've seen in the cricket, and it's with Olivia Turner, who we're familiar with at 1623. She's a recent MERHS grad, and she's working this really cool summer series for you.
Yeah, she started actually covering this for us during the school year, and now that she's doing her internship for the summer, she's continued it. She's been tracking, of course, her class and what it's like to be graduating and going to school in COVID and all that other stuff. She did a great piece in the spring about 11th grade, the juniors, and about what's been the experience of actually having to navigate your future in college when you can't go and visit these schools. And that was particularly the case last year. So in other words, for these graduates of this year. And she's been tracking them, and it's really interesting to see what their choices are. In the last 2 weeks, and including the current week, she's focused on two really talented graduates who have chosen to go into the military. And I don't know if that's not been an emphasis for Manchester-Essex School District kids. And it's been really interesting. The first one she did last week was, and I'm going to just read, it's James Wendell, and he actually is going into the Marine Corps, which is hardcore, as you know. My father-in-law was a double Mariner. Marine Corps guy. And he's going into like the Marine Corps intelligence, but he's going into the Marine Corps. He's a total talent. And he said, everyone assumed I would be going to college for my next step. And I decided that I was going to do something a little different. And he will be going to college for sure, but he's just doing it differently. And then another one is Henry Richard, who is going to be going into the Navy. Very similar story. And so I think it's a really interesting kind of option. I think kids now are like opening up their options for what are they going to do about their future? What is the experience of college going to be like? And what do I get out of college and the college experience? I found it to be really interesting.
I think it's really interesting. There has been a very national conversation happening about service. I know Seth Moulton, our congressman, has really had a lot of conversations about, asking young people to consider service of all sorts. It could be, teaching and Teach for America and all those sorts of things. But I wonder if some of that's driving it. But I also think it's a great option for young people who aren't quite sure about college yet.
Yeah, exactly. And to really understand, the discipline that you get, particularly in the military, in terms of just getting almost a more technical start, because it's funny, it's service. Seth Moulton is the perfect example of that. He is a military, he is a profile in military service, of great military service. I also see a real increase in the last several years, and this predated COVID, with an emphasis on a technical, practical experience so that you come out into your real life, ready in a way that is more different. And I tie that to North Shore Tech and the fact that North Shore Tech now is way oversubscribed. Routinely now they have 1,600 applications for 400 open slots in 9th grade. And the reason for that is people, and by the way, keep in mind, those kids go on to school. They go on to college for the most part. So when they graduate either with an associate's or with a 4-year degree, they have a practical experience that is really powerful and puts them ahead of the rest. I think the same issue is going on with military. The choice to go into the military really lends this, I'm going to be ready when I emerge and come out of this, as opposed to other kids. It's funny, I had a liberal arts education, and I think learning how to think is a really, really important skill. So I understand traditional colleges and traditional approaches. I just find it to be really interesting that we're in a time that's a little more open, a little, open aperture about hey, what do I want? What do I think is useful? How do I want to live my life? And what choices am I going to make? It's really interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, I have one more personal story to add to this. A lot of people know my daughter went to the University of Michigan. She was an art history major, probably the only art history major to be in ROTC. She did ROTC and she paid for her college all by herself. And she's now in the Massachusetts National Guard. But she's also working. She has a real job, a great job. And she says, Mom, a lot of the people I work with, they just don't understand that sometimes you just have to do the work and you're not going to get a thank you. And that's what I learned in the military.
That's a great lesson.
Isn't that a great lesson?
Weren't you telling me earlier that in Lexington, where she graduated, that it's a tradition to ask kids who are going to be going on to service in the military to stand up?
Yeah,
and be recognized?
Exactly. The whole graduating class. I get teary easily, but every time I say this, I get teary. You know, they're all there in their seats, and everyone who's going into the military service is asked to stand up and be recognized.
I
And there
love
were
that.
a lot of kids. I would say
that.
there were like 15 kids.
Mm.
So it's a different community, I guess, too. You know?
Yeah, well, calling out to Henry Richard and James Wendell. They're both great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers to their service. And cheers to Raphael Devers, who has recently joined the cricket sports staff, I take it. Does he have a desk right behind you, Erika?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Clearly, he doesn't read the sign. Hey, I'm in the middle of something. But it doesn't matter. He's quiet. It's awesome.
He seems like a nice kid.
Awesome kid.
And current all-star. All right, thanks, Erika.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.